independent Kentucky Judicial Campaign Conduct Committee asked the candidates for Supreme Court to pledge to run honorable campaigns. Judge Janet Stumbo signed the pledge. Her opponent, who is unknown throughout the district, did not, and then aired attack ads that the committee found purposely misleading.
Judicial candidates who run attack ads are politicians. I'm not a politician. I'm Judge Janet Stumbo.
You know, to truly judge somebody, it does take a higher order of thinking. But it's also really easy to judge somebody. It's easier to judge than it is to think about something. So, again, these politicians say they're not politicians, but they are politicians. That's what they're running for a public office. They're trying to get power through the electoral process. They want you to go vote for them because you think that they will provide the best judicial service. So, of course, she's a politician. Well, I'm annoyed by that ad because I'm a judge. I'm Judge Janet Stumbo, not a politician. You've been a politician your whole life. 24 years. You've been a politician your whole life. And to, pretend that you're not, to define a word. Well, what a politician is someone who runs for judge and they speak out about their views. Well, I want judges to speak out about their views. I want the judges to tell me what they believe, where they stand, because their ideology and their politics a lot of times does have a lot to do with how they will, decree by the bench, how they will, how they will do their job. So, and actually, my criticism of Janet's friendly fire, it's actually because I'm more pissed off at Sam Wright. There is a couple subtle jabs in there saying that Sam Wright was unknown in the district. So if Sam Wright is unknown, then maybe that makes him an outsider. Maybe that makes him actually the good guy. But he was running some ads against her saying something. Said that Janet Stumbo actually sided with the criminals 60% of the time. And I'll tell you why, that gets on my nerves. But first I want to talk about a couple other issues, Kentucky issues. There's so much news, actually, that happens in a day. The Breeders' Cup is coming up this weekend. In Lexington, it's only a day or two. It's basically as big as the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness Stakes, the Kentucky Oaks, and in some years the Belmont Stakes. It's a single day, maybe two, starting in 2007. It changed to 2 days. All the sites have been in the United States except for 96 when it was in Canada at the Woodbine Racetrack. And it's supposed to be one of the biggest races. $25 million were awarded over 2 days, which is up from $23 million, and that was in 2008. So there's high stakes, but really it's for anybody who is raising horses, who's raising horses to race, or anybody that's got enough money to bet and gamble on these horses that are racing. Suppose American Pharoah is the most likely to win, like 8-7. It's not even, you'll barely win any money if American Pharoah wins and you pick them right. So this is middle-class people who have enough money to gamble, or the very rich, ultra-rich 1%, the people who own the horses and the farms and the stables and can get into these competitions. $25 million. So, I don't think that their industry depends upon them winning. It could, but it seems like a bunch of rich people just playing with money, dressing all fancified and pretending to be, part of the South. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you. The whole thing doesn't make any sense, but it's supposed to be good for Kentucky. Brings jobs, brings, prosperity, whatever. It brings, more tourists, more people to come check us out. So it's happening in Lexington. If you're driving through Lexington over the weekend, know that that's happening, because that will, you'll experience delays. Recently, this is a guy, a wanted fugitive. I can't really make too much out of this, but WKYT, Kentucky.com has, they're begging me to start paying them, so I'm not going to read Kentucky.com anymore. The State Journal, I'm actually very impressed with the State Journal. But I got the same story from WKYT. So there's this Chase Berryman and Devon Robertson, 22 and 23 years old respectively. They're pulled over near New Circle Road and Liberty Road Monday afternoon. When the officers came up to the car, Chase Berryman pulled off, rear-ending a cruiser and smacking the rear bumper of another. So in order to get away, he ran into a couple cruisers. And then they said the officer who responded said Berryman missed him by mere inches. And the two were arrested on the spot. So this, he's being pulled over, and it looks like he did pull over, and then once they stop to get out to go say what's up, then he, starts reckoning into everybody. I'll get into this a little bit more, but that's what supposedly Samantha Ramsey was doing. She was, being disobedient. He was within inches of his life, and he had to jump up on the hood and shoot her in the chest, 4 times. But he was the one that actually ran over to her and, jumped over on her hood. And so this guy, sitting there bumping and running into everybody, and they still were able to apprehend him and arrest him. They didn't shoot him 4 times in the chest. So it just shows you that it's possible to arrest somebody, who is fleeing or evading arrest or whatever. And then I can't even figure out what he's guilty of. Eventually they have wanton endangerment and criminal mischief. That's too vague, criminal mischief. So he was like, I'm going to be mischievous. He littered, he threw a couple, aluminum cans on the sidewalk. Wanton endangerment, is that from the car? They tried to arrest him, and he didn't want to be arrested for no reason. So that's what the wanton endangerment and criminal mischief is. It sounds like it. So I don't know what the reason why they pulled him over. They didn't mention that was they're black, so clearly they must be pulled over. They had no tail lights. They weren't signaling properly. What was it? Why did these 2 gentlemen get pulled over? And then eventually the other guy, Devon Robertson, gets charged with drug trafficking. So what's that? Pot? Is that aspirin? Is he like this pharmaceutical distributor? So again, war on drugs. You trap anything. You trap, a kitten. A kitten will lash out. And when, the same reason that guy's on the run in Cumberland County is over the war on drugs. It's all the war on drugs. And if you just have, a little bit of a personal amount of whatever for yourself, and you're looking at going to prison for 5 years or something, yeah, it makes people have to, do things they ordinarily wouldn't do. So even though I'm very much, against meth and heroin and crack and really, your hard drugs, it's, to beat them up. I mean, I feel like violence and incarceration should be the very last options. All peaceful options should be exhausted first. So until we go further, all peaceful options have to be exhausted. Did you try to give them a job? Did you try to care about them, care about their life? And so, and they didn't hurt anybody. That's the biggest thing, is they didn't hurt anybody. And yeah, the officer's like, oh my God, he was almost inches away from me. You were going to take his freedom. And you did take his freedom away. You beat him up, used violence, you took his freedom away. And for what? Did he hurt anybody? Does he go around looking for people to hurt like, the Lexington Popo did? No. So one is looking for trouble. The other one is just trying to exist and live their life. And apparently, this was the second time or so that he had tried to do the same thing. So good for him. Good for him that he got away at one point. It goes to show you again that, they pulled this gentleman over, and then he ran into the car, and then he wound up getting away. So, I don't know why they're pulling him over, drive DWB. But when there's real criminals, the cops don't know what to do. When you willingly submit, pull off this out of it, they'll throw the book at you. They'll throw the book at you, and they'll think that they're, God, that they're Superman, and that they're so damn great. The level of that which you submit to is the level of injustice that would be perpetuated upon you. And so, when you fight back, they got away with it. So you're wondering about that Floyd Ray Cook. He's getting away with it right now. 5 days in the running, he's still, at large. And Chase Berryman, the first time, he had fault, he was able to get away. And it seems like right now the only crime that he's committing is resisting arrest. Nobody wants to be, arrested for no reason. And resisting arrest, I don't think it's a good enough reason to ruin a person's life over it. Literally, if that's all you're charged with, is resisting arrest. Somebody says, I want to arrest you. Well, what are the reasons? I don't have any reasons. Well, now you're resisting. Now I have a reason. Well, before, that's entrapment. Before you were even here, there was no, there was no problems whatsoever. The only problem is that you showed up, and then all of a sudden you want to put your hands on me, and, that's sadistic, possibly sexually perverted. So, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. You go around looking for trouble, wanting to put your hands on me, and then I'm supposed to say, I need you? I don't need you. So that happened. A 22-year-old Chase Berryman is in jail. This is posted this morning, 5:42 a.m. So I hope they do okay. War on drugs is the same reason why, that guy is running around. When I think about, let's compare the Floyd Ray Cook case to the Luke, I want to say Sizemore, Luke something more. The guy, it was a Kentucky State police officer who killed a man in Knott County. And it's the second guy that he's killed. And so, he's killed 2 people, he's murdered 2 people. And this guy that they're chasing right now is Sizehouse. It's Luke something, but it was in Knott County this month, October. Go to the Guardian. You can find, he also killed Michael Asher. So he killed 2 people. Kentucky State police officer had killed 2 people, killed Michael Asher in May, just killed somebody else in Knott County. He's taken 2 people's lives. And the second one, it's a pedestrian just walking around. Supposedly he made an aggressive move or something, and they killed him. Don't even know if he had a gun. And don't even know if Michael Asher had a gun either. I don't know. So my point being, I'll look into the specific details of the case, but he's got blood on his hands. There's a dead body. There's 2 dead bodies, and that's, Luke's side. That's KSP. So because you got a badge, because you got a uniform, you're just allowed to get away with any type of, murder is the worst crime that you could commit. It's the worst thing. You're taking everything that person is and never will be. You're taking everything away from them. And so if we can't even agree that murder is a big enough crime to indict or to file charges and let him go through the criminal slaughterhouse, the so-called justice system, and let him go through the same, fucking bullshit, assembly line, slaughterhouse, a criminal justice system just like everybody else has to go through that he puts into handcuffs and puts charges onto. Because if you compare the 2, look at Floyd Ray Cook versus that Kentucky State police officer. Floyd Ray Cook shot at people, but he hasn't killed anybody. He's not a murderer like the Kentucky State, and that's 16 murders this year, 16 deaths. Have any of them been justified? I haven't seen, video of any of this. How come our, state police officers aren't on videotape? None of them are. If you're a good cop, the videotape vindicates you. I would love to have that protection, the authority of the state along with videotaping everything that I do, so that would show that all my actions, I would enter into a situation with good intent, take the best of my abilities, do what I can. I'm human, of course I'm going to make some mistakes, but I would like to think after, successfully handling situation after situation that you build that reputation up. And so I would be very much that's compared to 2. One you have with 2 dead humans on their hands. That Luke guy, the man's name is Luke. I forget his last name. But if you compare the 2, one has killed 2 people. One is a murderer. Justified or not, I don't know. It wasn't clear to me if they were justified. In fact, it seemed like some were unarmed. And so one of them has, blood on their hands, and the other one's is he's shot at cops, but nobody's been murdered by him. He tried to riot and assault, and in the 70s and 80s there was all these horrible rape, but none was murder. He didn't kill anybody, and most certainly for the 70s and 80s charges, yeah, he had a bad past, but the thing that he was running from now is the methamphetamine charge, the war on drugs. They put charges on him, he has to go to court, and they're going to fuck him over. That's what they do. That's Kentucky injustice slaughterhouse system. they are going to care about his life. They're going to throw him in the pen for as long as they can get away with, go brag about how tough on crime they are, and pretend like they solved the problem, when really all they did was just put him on prison welfare. They put him on welfare for all the rest of us to, go ahead and take care of all his daily needs, and we took him out of society, so he cannot be a productive member of society. It's like when you take, someone who owes child support and put him in prison. How is he going to pay for anything, for anybody? He's going to walk out of prison with a debt, with a sentence, and that's going to tarnish his reputation. Won't be able to get a test. So really, we just made it harder for him to be able to get income, to be able to pay for his children. Is it really about, child support? Is it really about helping that kid, and it takes a village, and we need to do our part, or is it about just fucking that guy over as much as we can, as much as he can stand, or as much as we can get away with? And that doesn't help anybody. So there is a coordination failure when it comes to the criminal justice system. So that's, I think that's bullshit. So when you compare those two ideas, Luke, the Kentucky State Police officer, has killed 2 people, but this guy that the Kentucky State Police right now are chasing in Cumberland County has murdered nobody. So Luke has committed, took everything away from 2 individuals. Floyd, Ray Cook never took those individuals away. So this actually all ties into the whole Janet Stumbo versus Sam Wright. And fuck Sam Wright. Fuck Sam Wright. I mean, I was criticizing, Janet Stumbo, and I think she is the lesser of the 2 evils. She goes around and is like, oh, but I'm just so sweet, and I've never done anything wrong. Okay, bullshit. But that's okay. You're doing what you think that you have to do in order to get elected. But what Sam Wright is doing, he is sitting there saying that she sides with the criminals 60% of the time. Well, what number is that from? That comes from how many people they have charged with a crime and how many of them got dismissed. If she was overriding a dismissal, then somehow that's siding with the criminals, or how about the falsely accused? In fact, Sam Wright is actually going against America, and he's saying that you're not innocent until proven guilty. He's saying you're guilty until you're proven innocent. If you're brought up on charges, you're just fucking guilty, and the prosecutor and the judge should work together to fuck as many people's lives over. Well, that goes against the Constitution. It goes against Kentucky's Constitution, America's Constitution. This is Sam Wright being desperate, trying to get some attention, trying to get his voice out there in the last week, of the election. And then, Stumbo's trying to sort of do some, rope-a-dope, where she's not swinging any punches. She's just kind of, blocking them and backing out of them. So it doesn't look like she's, as big of an asshole as he. And I think that's actually very true. 60% she sided with the criminals. So she saw criminals and she saw good people, and she goes, no, I'm going to go with the good people. Or maybe she actually took a judicial, impartial viewpoint on the thing. Sometimes, this side is, they are human and they make mistakes. They're usually good, but they make mistakes. And this side, you know what I mean? Like, judge every person for themselves, and instead of just saying that anybody who's accused of crime is a criminal, because you have to be convicted in a court of law in order to. That's the whole point of our judicial system. So just someone accusing you or you being arrested, like, that's not a conviction. It's not a conviction. For whatever reason that, police officer felt the need to take you out or to wrestle you down and use violence, maybe he just hated you. Maybe he just didn't like you. Maybe he was just wanting to shoot some people and get some street cred. We've got some cops that have bloody hands. Tyler Brockman still walking around today, free man, murdered. One of our 19-year-old young women, and so is that one of the cases that Janet Stumbo would have chosen the side of the criminals? No, that's Sam Wright type of people. The establishment, they chose the side of the criminal. They saw a murder, and instead of convicting or even putting that person through the same criminal justice system that even a jaywalker would go through, instead they brushed it underneath the carpet. They pretended like nothing nothing happened. They got into the grand jury, and the grand jury failed to indict. It doesn't stop any police officer from, if somebody just killed somebody, the police officer has a right to arrest that person right then and there. So anybody can arrest Tyler Brockman. There is no statute of limitations for murder. He killed her. He took her life off. So the grand jury failed to indict because the prosecutor, didn't present all the evidence and they protected them, and then once they failed to indict, then everybody gets to wash their hands of the whole situation and pretend like they had nothing to do with it. Fuck that. That's bullshit. At the very least, for jaywalking, if you go to jail for not returning a library book and you're going to defend an establishment and people that murder, you're fucked up. You're fucked up. That's not abuse. That's not violence. That's not something that we should be concerned about. Someone that killed somebody else and that person's entire life is dead. Samantha Ramsey will be forever young. And if Sam Wright is a person that always sides with any of the fucking, this is Letcher County. There's a report that I'd actually talked to a gentleman there that had said that the police were involved in the drugs, just like Pepe Martin had said that 70-80% of all the cops in Kentucky are involved in the drug trade. So you have this guy who's actually involved in the drugs in Letcher County, and then once, he got annoyed with the guy that I was talking to and threw him in jail. Took his supply, kept his, portion or piece of the drug money, and then fucked this other guy over. So, the cops are very much saturated in the drug war, and if Sam Wright is a type of attorney or type of judge that just sides with these corrupt criminals wearing badges, then he's the one that sides with the criminals 100% of the time. So you need to be impartial. At the very least, that's what we expect out of our judges, is for them to be impartial. And that's not what he's doing. He's not being impartial. If he thinks that any of the accused is, automatically guilty, then, he's not being what he's supposed to be doing. And usually the judges say nothing because they're supposed to be, objective and impartial. But he's sitting there showing clearly that he's just pro-establishment, pro-fascism, pro-violence of any kind. It doesn't matter if, how evil of a person you are. If you put on a uniform, then your evil can go unlimited as long as you could justify that you was trying to do something good. He put a guy in jail for 5 years for taking a woman's Bible. And that's, he should have been punished. I remember being robbed and the cops, the Louisville not giving a shit. But that's 5 years. 5 years, is that just? You take a little piece of property because you're poor or whatever. I don't know what the actual case was, but 5 years in jail for taking a Bible. It's a little too much, That's the average murder sentence is 7 years, which is insane to me. But stealing, property, 5 years. 5 years is a long time on the taxpayer rolls, on welfare, where we pay for their food, water, clothing, and maybe if they get out, they'll be able to pay that back, right? We'll saddle them with debt and a bad reputation and say, good luck going out there, and then get shocked when they, there's recidivism and they're right back in there for doing the same reasons because, turns out polite society ain't going to hire felons, so they got a PhD in drug pharmacy and felony, law when they're in the jail, and so we give them a PhD, we graduate them, then we get them around all these other contacts and criminals, and then be shocked. We're shocked when they go right back into the, see, it's their only choice, it's their only option. What other options do they have? They got to eat, they got to live, right? So what else are they going to do? And so, I'm really pissed off actually at Sam Wright. I felt like I was on the fence between these two because I don't know them. They're pretty much too unknown. She's been in there for a long time, 25, 29 years or something. And the Independent Judicial Commission did sort of chastise her because they said that she, I don't know, she did something. They said that she had more experience, more appellate judge experience than any other Kentuckian, but Justice Donald Wintersheimer actually beat her because he had 29 years and she only had, 28 or something. So it was very minor. They're trying to show that they're, fair and balanced by, well, we're going to, really hit Sam Wright on his poor conduct, for the campaign, judicial campaign. But we're also going to sort of get on Stumbo, too, so it doesn't look like we're siding with one or the other. When, what he's saying is insane. It's saying that she sides with criminals. So she is, that's a criminal. Right? For criminal who sides with criminals. That is what he is accusing her of. And so if he is just, throwing out accusations like that, how many times has he thrown out accusations against just anybody, I got a couple of news stories here. I'm just going to actually read it off to the side. 2 Kentucky women convicted of killing their husbands to be featured on Snap. Tanya Ford's story would be broadcast for millions of television viewers on January 20th. This was written January 2013. So she had killed her husband, Lebanon police officer David Ford, on February 10th, 2009. She pleaded not guilty in November 2010. Ford's trial begins August 20th in the Taylor Circuit Court. Tanya Ford isn't the only one that they were actually, Snap, the cable show Snap. They also got Kathleen Wise's story, who admitted to killing her story, and that she would also be featured in an episode, coming up. It just made me think of the poison. I typed in poison, Kentucky poison, and a lot of cases came up. So this is, she's serving a life in prison. They unanimously agreed that Wise killed her husband with a morphine overdose. So she'll be 81 years old when she can actually parole out of prison. There's one woman that had killed her ex-boyfriend, a lawyer, who had, she was bragging about it. I killed him. And talk about fucked up, that's horrible. She murdered him in cold blood, thought she could get away with it by feigning abuse. He was abusive to me. He tried to rape me, so I had to kill him. When really she was just a jealous lover who didn't want to see him go. And so there's another woman, Kentucky woman, Lacey Spears, 27, of Scottsville, Kentucky. She was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison in New York. But she's from Scottsville, Kentucky, and she killed her son by giving him too much salt. And then they said something about Manchausen, sort of like she just likes the attention that the suffering boy was getting. She didn't really like to take care of him, or maybe didn't even like the boy himself. But she liked the attention from the medical staff, from family friends. She wrote and blogged about her experiences with having to, take care of her boy. But I guess after, a while, enough was too much. And just like in The Sixth Sense, she started poisoning, put too much sodium into his food bags or whatever to his stomach. The expert, the autopsy expert, actually said there was like 69 packets of McDonald's salt. So that seems a very specific way of measuring salt. But I think he did it because that's probably where she had got the salt from. 69 packets is how much of salt she put into her kid's stomach, and they convicted her. She even had 2 lawyers, so there usually is 2-tiered justice system, the lawyered versus the unlawyered. At least with the lawyer you get a fighting chance, but without a lawyer you have no chance at all. And she had 2 lawyers, so it seems to me if they could get through 2 lawyers, that seems pretty, this is a pretty good case against her, right, to say that she actually did want to kill the 5-year-old kid. And, what a way to die. She basically tortured him until he was dead. There was a woman recently who had just poisoned, Judy Reed, tried to poison her husband, her and Kimberly Vincent of Brownsville. Kimberly Vincent just went behind bars for the next 10 years. And, so, that just happened. But the guy, he didn't die from the thing, but Judy Reed is a caseworker in the Warren County Drug Court. So again, the war on drugs, this caseworker in the drug court had access to prescription pills, and they were going to try to overdose him with, Opana. They was going to overdose him with Opana, which is a powerful painkiller. And they was hoping that it would take care of her husband for good. So, I'll come back. There's a couple more things I want to cover, but Tuesday coffee.